Hi, in this tutorial video, we will solve a simple optimization problem using CPLEX. First, we will solve it for tables and chairs, and then we will try to generalize it for any number of products. This problem is talking about furniture product mix to maximize profit. So, we have certain required resources to produce one table, and the profit from one table is 60. Same for chairs, it requires certain amount of resources to be produced and the profit is 40. The available resources, which are the carpentry and finishing time, are limited. We have 260 hours for carpentry and 120 hours for finishing. The decision variables is how many tables we should produce and how many chairs we should produce to maximize the profit. The simple formulation of this problem is to have an objective function and constraints. Let's try now to build a model in CPLEX and formulate it using OPL language to be solved later on by CPLEX. To create a new model, we'll go to File, New, OPL Project. I will call it Tutorial Product Mix. Here you can choose where you want to locate your model in your PC and always check all these options. We want to create a data file, we want to create settings, we want to create model, and for sure a default run configuration for our model. So let's click finish. Once I clicked finished, three files have been created: the data file, the model file, and the options file. In addition to run configuration, there is only one run configuration since I have only one model and one data file, and this run configuration includes my only model. If I want to have another model in the same project, I need to create another run configuration and add to it or link to it my second model. So now I have one model file and one data file, and they are linked to the file that I have. Okay, let's start. I always prefer to divide my model to 5 parts. The first part is parameters and notations. So I will write a comment, / parameters and notations. The second part, let's add a comment. This is called decision variables. The third part is objective function. The fourth part is constraints. I need to add comment so it will not be considered by the model. It is only a text that I am adding to my model to divide it into 4 parts. This for sure will help me in writing my model or developing my model. And the fourth part is results display. I can use all of these parts or at least the objective function, constraints, and for sure decision variables. These 3 parts should be used at least. However, if I want to generalize my model, usually we use parameters, and in order to display the results in a professional way, we use results display. Let's start by typing our objective function. The objective function, which is the first line in this slide, is about maximize 60 times t, which is my decision variable, how many tables should be produced, plus 40 times c, which is the profit from producing one chair, and c is number of chairs to be produced, semicolon. I have here a warning line or error line. I got an error represented by the red line. Why this error? Because the system cannot identify what is t and c. So they are my decision variables and I need to declare this for CPLEX. I will write t is my decision variable and c. This is not enough. I need to inform CPLEX that this t or c is a decision variable. So I will use dvar and dvar for the chairs. Still, I am getting the error line. Why? Because I did not identify the type of this decision variable. Is it integer? Is it decimal number? I think tables cannot be decimal number. 1.5 or 1.6. It is either one table, two tables, three tables, or etc. So it should be integer and positive. We cannot produce negative number of tables. Same for chairs, integer and positive. Here we go. So we have defined our decision variables, objective function. The rest is the constraints. So I will start. We should use subject 2 and then open two brackets in the constraints part. Inside these two brackets, I can write my constraints. To indicate the first constraint, we use C1 and two dots. Now I can write my first constraint, which is 4 times T plus 3 times C is less than or equal 260 and semicolon. The same for constraint 2. So I have second constraint C2. I am informing CPLEX that I have a second constraint by writing C2. 2 times T plus C or 1 times C because 1 hour it should be less than or equal 120 because I have only 120 finishing hours available. What about the third constraint? T and C is bigger than or equal 0. I don't need to add it here because I already consider it in my decision variable section. I already indicated that T and C are decision variables and they should be positive, bigger than or equal 0 by adding the positive here. Okay, so my model now is ready. Notice that I did not use the parameters and I did not use the results display. They are optional. We use them when we try to make more general and professional models typing and when we try to write our model in the compact way. Let's run the model and see the results. In order to run the model, I need to make sure that in the run configuration, I have a run configuration that includes my model file, my data file. I did not use the data file, but in future we will use it, so we need always to make sure that the data file also is under the run configuration and the options file. To run this model, I will go to configuration 1, right click and run this. It took CPLEX less than 1 second to produce the results. Let's check the solution. I have here the value of my decision variable C is 20, so this means I should produce 20 chairs and T is 50 tables in order to maximize the profit. And what is the profit? The profit is the objective function. How I can know the value of my objective function if I produce 20 chairs and 50 tables? I can go to statistics and here we go. The objective function is 3800.